What's up, good people? Today's episode with Erica Ford was made possible by our good friends over at Paper Planes. I've been wanting to do this interview with Erica for like 3 years now, but if I've learned anything from this project is that everything in time happens on time. And like they say over at Planes, greatness is a process.
And you know this, man.
You're listening to the
New York Said Podcast.
Fear not, my friends. This will be my greatest performance.
Give it to me.
Here we go. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
I had a conversation with Jesse over at Planes. We were just kicking it, and he told me about the collaboration between Life Camp
and of course,
and
I
Planes.
left the hat home, of course. But it's all good.
It's all
no
good.
pictures.
We're all good. And I was hyped. I was sitting there. I was like, I've been wanting to have a conversation, and just kind of, he was like, I'll send out an email, and then here we are. So I also just wanted to say thank you for your time.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Thank you for your time in documenting our history and letting voices who normally wouldn't be heard.
Yeah, and I am, a product of Southside Jamaica, Queens, and I know you have impacted my life as well as my family, and so just thank you.
Thank you for going through this shit.
Yeah.
Because, where you come from, particularly where you come from, they work hard to keep you in a certain box, and you saw outside of the box and saw there was a real world. And that's the good thing. And that's the thing, that by doing this type of podcast where you let other voices be heard, it exposes people to things that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. I would love to even there's a brother, T.L. Cross.
Mm-hmm. Oh, word. I'm familiar with Cross. He does a lot of hip-hop history.
He's also from Queens.
Yes.
We would love to do a thing where we have a conversation with some of these people who document Queens. Yes. Right?
I would love to. So far, I'm having mad people from Queens. I've had Dog Time, which was rare, because Dog Time doesn't really do interviews like that. But I had to kind of court him for a couple of months. Then I got Dirty Harry and Carl Clay and Jaffe over at the building or what have you, at American Towers. So I'm just kind of making my way slowly, because sometimes people are elusive. They're like, why you want to talk to me? And I'm like, bruh, you have a story.
Yes.
At Planes, they say greatness is a process.
Greatness is a process.
And at Life Camp, they say peace is a lifestyle.
Yes.
And so I wanted to get to the process, even before December 12th, 1987. Can you paint a picture of how did you get to December 12th, 1987?
Yeah.
And then we could build from there.
Yeah. Growing up in Southside Queens, right? Even right there where you're talking about, there was a club called Fantasia. Mm-hmm. Right? And then it was Encore, right? There was the Park Jams. There was Riding Your Bicycles. There was Southside. There was Supreme Team.
Grandmaster
There
Vic.
was Fat Cat. Mm-hmm. There was Grandmaster Vic. There was Infinity Machine. It was the culture of us coming together, having fun. But most of the guys were involved in negative activity. Selling drugs was the number one activity for most of the young men and women in Southeast Queens. And just being part of that, by growing up at the same time, you see a lot of your friends get killed. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of your friends have their husbands sent to jail for 30 and 40 years. Their kids left hopeless, left with a body and a shell, but no soul inside. And seeing that, it had an impact on me. Viola Plummer, who is like the modern day Harriet Tubman, lives in Queens. Her daughter and me hung out together. And one time we were coming from a party, and I saw the flyer on her wall. And that was my first encounter with political consciousness, right, with Black Power. And when I saw it, it was about the young girl, Tawana Brawley, who had got raped, right? And I was like, wow, I want to go to that rally. And little did I know that you don't tell her mother you're going to do something and don't do it. And the night before, we hung out. We went to a party. I didn't want to get up go to no rally. I'm like, I'm not going to no rally. And they was like, nah, you can't tell my mother.
No.
Right. So she called me, I think, 7 times. And then finally I was like, F it, I'm going to go. And I went and my whole life changed.
But what was it? What was the message?
So it was Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Sonny Carson, Viola Plummer.
All in one building.
All in one building. 2 things had happened. One was the Tawana Brawley situation, but another was the young men in Goshen County Jail had got attacked by the guards in KKK outfit. And so both of those issues, but it was more about Black power, Black community. I really couldn't remember what the exact thing, but it was just a spark. Like some people go to church and they get saved. They go to a rally, they get woke. You know, it was a combination of your soul shifting, right? You see that there's something else in the world other than just satisfying your own basic needs, right? And when I saw that, I was propelled to want to do something. And I went the next day, you know, to do what I thought, because at that time, Laura Blackburn, she was part of the NAACP. She was like the Black leader for me. And then on the other side, it was Floyd Flake, who had Allen AME Church. And so I went up in his church the next day with my crew. And, you know, I had different people around the church, and we stood up in the middle of the church.
The next day.
It was like, why you wasn't at the rally? Like, you supposed to be about Black people, why you wasn't there? You know, and then I went and knocked on Laura Blackburn's door, Judge Blackburn, and asked her the same question. And then we've just been working for the people ever since, you know, and I've seen a lot of people die. And so...
I just wanted to, because you about to go, I see it. With those tactics, like just, because I did watch your TED Talk, and you were saying like, I wanted people to move when I said move and get it when I said get it. To me, it's like, greatness is a process is because you do it more than once. And you try, there's iterations, and you fail, and you're like, okay, that worked, but that didn't work. This worked. Like, how long did that take before you began to realize, like, I think I need to switch up my strategy?
Two things. Greatness is a process. You're born great, though. But it takes us a process to realize that we're great. It takes us a process to maybe give birth to some great ideas, and from birth to implementation and so on and so forth. It's that process of doing the work that it takes to make this podcast that you're doing, right? You started X amount of years ago, and you put in, so now this podcast is at a different level. But you're in the process of greatness.
I'll give you one. Growing up in Southside Jamaica, Queens, and American Towers, I didn't know that I really, truly had intelligence until I got my 3rd degree.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, I'm smart. Like somebody might say, oh, you got your bachelor's. It wasn't enough. It took for me to like really apply myself because I had to unlearn so much. Right. And then I had
So that's the key point.
Yeah.
Unlearn. Most of us don't unlearn. We're keeping our behavioral norms inside of something that we're trying to give birth to. And you can't hold on to yesterday and stand firm in today. Like Red couldn't become Malcolm X without getting rid of Dirty Red. And so as we shed the baggage that holds us back, we give birth into our new being. My whole process, the whole 35 years, is the process of shedding, right? It wasn't like it went 10 years and then I did and I became like, I'm still shedding, right? I'm still transforming, I'm still growing, but I was able to do great things, right? I was able to give birth to great ideas and put them in things because of my consistency, because of the discipline that Viola Plummer and the December 12th movement taught me, right? Being courageous, not being scared of people and ideas and things that they put us in this world and say, no, you can't do that till. You can't talk to that person because da-da-da-da-da. I don't live by those rules. I don't live by you can't do. Like there's nothing I can't do. There's no one I can't talk to. There's nothing I can't have. You just got to strategize on what it takes to get there, but it's yours.
Right.
It's yours. But the people who I work with, because I can't do it by myself, still hold on to the baggage of I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't say that. I can't step to this person. I can't, build what I can't see. So you have to spend time working with the people around you to transform their thinking process. Like how Harriet Tubman said, I could have freed more people if they would have only understood they were slaves.
Right. But how do you maintain that? Like, I hope I'm not crazy. Because you're like the odd person out.
Oh.
And you
didn't get the memo?
Oh, what's up?
I am crazy. Oh, there's no,
meaning like,
there's no question to that.
I mean, in the sense of like you know what you're trying to do and trying to kind of like play that game of Othello, trying to like flip their pieces to be your pieces, and you're like steadfast in what it is. But there has to be a time where you're like, wait, am I bugging out? Because the majority is this, but I see it differently. And then, but how do you?
So you got to be confident, right? You got to be confident in who you, and that's a process. Those are the process that you grow into, because it takes a process for you to truly believe and understand who you are. And that is definitely something that I have grown through and growing through, right? And it's trial and error. It's like I said in the TEDx, you get depleted, you deplete the people around you because but you got to see it. What do you mean you don't see it, right? And the young lady that's sitting in the room with us now, Jada, she was my niece's best friend from when they were 4, 5. So I've been drilling in their head since they were little, right? Do they see everything that I say? No, right? But my niece texted me the other day and she was like, I'm so glad that you made me brave, right? That you gave me the ability to have courage because I was able to use it. And she's living in Texas now in this system that they have me in. So I was able to advocate for myself, right? But sometimes you get the tools and the juice and you don't realize that you have it, that you can use it until that moment comes.
Yep. Those seeds.
You know, and then that moment comes and you put that tool that you have in your toolbox to practice.
Yeah, I had someone I met along the way. Her name is Miss Woods. Great, incredible person. And like the first thing she saw in me was my anger. I didn't even know where it was coming from. I was just angry all the time. And she was like, you are on fire. You need an outlet. And she's from Bed-Stuy. But I met her in Sullivan because I was in junior college trying to make up for whatever I didn't do in high school. So she was like, if you don't find an outlet, you're gonna burn yourself alive. And so then I started writing poetry, and that's why I know what Life Camp is. I live it, and so just those outlets and those programs, I'm just, even though I'm studying, I'm still going. I went through these. I understand that all this stuff to be actual fact.
Yes.
Because if I didn't have that outlet, I really wouldn't be sitting here talking. And then her tutelage throughout my life. Matter of fact, I should call
everybody needs a mentor.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a big brother, a big sister, someone who's going to give them juice and not judge them, and push them. Because most people that I work with, they love me, but they can't stand me.
What does that mean?
That means that they love me, they love who I am in the relationship to their life, but they can't stand what I do to them every day.
Because you make them put in that work.
I make them put in that mental work, more importantly than any other work. It's not about me. It's not about what I'm saying. It's about what you're standing for. What are you, and I don't accept mediocrity. And so I'm constantly pushing them past their breaking point. And nobody likes that person. It's like the trainer in the gym.
Right.
We don't like the trainer until we're looking at the six-pack.
Right.
Right? And then we're like, yo. Yeah. But to get there, we don't like it. I know I give my trainer much hell.
Teacher once was like, if you come in here on time, you are late. Right. I'm going to close the door on you, and you will not have this class. And that was years ago. And to this day, just to respect someone's time, to just be there early. And then on top of that, you can kind of like relax your nerves.
Yes.
It sucks to walk into a place like, oh, Erica, I'm sorry I'm late. And you're just like, okay, we're off to a bad start.
Yeah. And that's my number one philosophy. And it's so good that we have a guest in the room today who I kind of discussed that with. Aaron.
Oh, sorry, Jada. My bad. But,
on top of the next thing. And then the angry, Deepak Chopra coined me the angry peacemaker, right? Is because, we have a lot of anger in us because of the society that we grow up in, right? And people say, oh, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. No, you got to be past that. And people have a lot to say, but they don't understand the impact of trauma on one's body because, like me, I'm sitting here with the nasal congestion and things. It's the stress of all of these years that it played an impact on my body, And it's not easy to just move past it. It's not easy to live in this community and look at the degradation and the inequality in the school and the food and the safety. The police treat us all like we're perps. They're not here to protect us. They're here to serve our asses. When you sitting in a corner and you watch it and waiting for someone to run a red light, like you're waiting to give this person a thing. You're not safety. because you're waiting for them to crash and then you're going to come after, right? And so we have to change the narrative. And I'm constantly, when you talk about the Paper Planes hat and Life Camp, that coming together, those are two entities. Planes is on top of the game, right? You know, and they've achieved a lot of greatness, not only through their clothing line, but through the industry in which they represent. And Life Camp has done the same. And for the world to see us come together can further impact a message to a lot of young people and parents. One, we need to be mentors to these young people, or just where do you come from? Like, where do you represent, and how do you get back to where you come? Because people are constantly saying, I did this by myself. Nobody can do anything by themselves, you know, and we gotta stand still and look at the people who gave life into us, right? By just clearing away some people, or just giving you a jewel when you was a kid in high school, or just being there to open up a door, giving you a job, putting clothes on your back, allowing you to sleep somewhere so you could be safe and think. You know, all of those things play a role.
That part you said right there about thinking,
Yeah.
there was so much time when you just don't have time to just think and strategize what's your next step, because you might have this issue or this beef or this problem, and you did this and you said that, or your
Living
mind
in
might
a
be cloudy.
domestic house where there's domestic violence, drug abuse, gunshots every night. So you're living in fear, right? And so you don't have a time to think, and you're rushing to get to the school because that's your safety. And then when you get to the school, the teacher's yelling at you because you're not paying attention.
Or looking at you like you less than.
Right. I got beat in school, right? And I didn't realize it until now that I was abused my entire elementary because they said I talk too much. And what do I do for a living? I talk.
Right.
Right? And so how did you nurture that jewel? Right? You made me feel like it was criminal to talk. And so, like, how are we raising our kids to be great, to have peace, to live a lifestyle that gives them the ability to understand real greatness? Because some of us don't, then we look at just getting a new pair of sneakers as being great, right? Or moving from the projects to the house across the street, right? That's not great. And I'm not saying that it's
No,
you know,
it's progress,
but
yeah.
But what does our community look like? We have to transform the nature of how we exist in the world, right? From being victims to being great, and great in the sense of really controlling where we give oxygen and who gives life to us. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Can we really be free in our community, right? Is it dirty? Is it stinking? Is it always yelling and screaming? Toxic environment? Low vibrations? And so when you put on your crown, you want to achieve greatness. You want to move to really have a lifestyle of peace. And that's what we're showing people in this partnership, is that we can, through our process of peace, find greatness.
I wanted to ask you about the credible messengers and their impact in the program.
Right. So you talked about Chaffee, for example, who comes from the towers. He's a great young man, but he's a credible messenger. Mm-hmm. And he's a credible messenger because of the life he led and the people, how they look at him. Right? And so he could walk up to anybody in the towers and be like, da-da-da-da-da. And they're going to listen to him just because of who he is. And so when you have someone like that, how do we use them for good? How do we use them to control the environment that we're in, to shift? Like, we just got the retail license to sell cannabis. Yeah. And a lot of those guys were shunned upon for selling cannabis, right?
Pushing chemicals, yeah.
Yeah. And so how do we empower them to take their skills and keep our community safe, which then builds up property value, investment, and then open up legal retail stores, or be consultants to these folks who are doing this and making millions of dollars, and telling us the only way that we can make money is by giving them all of our money. That ain't equity. Are you crazy? Right? And telling us we the abnormal ones because we don't want to conform to their bullshit. Right? No, we want ours because you've killed our people. You've raped our people. You've incarcerated our people. And then now you're going to come with this license that a whole community has already been prepared for. Because our preparation, you're not anointing as it's okay, right? Which is the Jaffes of the world, the Bucks of the world, right? They come from these communities that don't look like us. And I'm not saying that none of them wasn't legacy workers, but their community wasn't destroyed because of it, right? Their families weren't broken up because of it, right? And so in order for us to get equity, we first have to be on a level playing ground. We ain't on a level playing ground, right? So when you talk about peace and greatness, it all comes from lifting our community up, right? And entrepreneurship does that. Corporate partnerships do that. Letting the voiceless be heard does that. There's various different ways, but a lot of people in our community only know a few ways or think that there's a few ways. And we got to show them that there's a lot more.
And so even with the urban yogis, having that moment to breathe, to take the time out and go, okay, let me just see more than what's in front of me.
And the urban yogis come from Basic Projects. They are an embodiment of breaking that cycle, right? Because the father was Black Just.
Oh shit, I
right?
didn't know that.
And so Black Just was an OG in the community. And then he went on to be killed.
Yeah.
Right? And so I saw the impact of his death on his children. Right? And that was one of the sparks that said, no, I got to bring this home. I got to do this here in the South, because I was doing it all over the world.
Right.
Right? I was like, nah, I got to come here. Because, you know, these kids are falling apart.
And it's crazy, like, again, like as I was doing the research, it just started bringing up all these memories, started to define like, what is trauma? Because you hear it and you're like, I know that there's things that I've had to like let go or just make peace with. I went to PS 140, and one of the things that crosses my mind is when Mr. Vaughn died over, he was my gym teacher, he died over calling a bad call in a basketball game.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah, and as I mean, he was beloved by us. You know, I'm in elementary school. And, it was
and the other thing is, the brother who was accused was beloved, right? And it was a reaction that wasn't meant to go that far, right? But it was two beloved individuals.
Okay.
And so...
And it's real easy to see one side.
It's real easy.
So easy to be like, Mr. Vaughn, and not have any empathy or compassion to this impulse of like anger from...
Because soccer moms do it all the time. They beating up on the refs because he fell, and then, you know, subsequently, it's not like he was beaten to death.
Right. It was like a one-hit thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why we deal with both sides of the gun. That's why we have credible messengers, right? Because a credible messenger could have stopped that on the swing, seen it coming, right? Credible messengers in those environments shut it down.
You know what time it is.
Right? They talk people off a ledge. They're able to deal with how do we interrupt and mediate conflict so that it doesn't lead to someone losing their life.
Can you talk about the art of talking someone off the ledge?
That is definitely a person who someone is going to listen to without hesitation, right? Joe Schmo, don't nobody know about.
Right.
Ain't nobody going to listen to him.
Yeah.
They can't talk someone off the ledge because they're not going to listen to them. So that's first and foremost. Is different circumstances exist in the world where sometimes some chemistry connects between two individuals who's just random, and he's able to talk someone off? Yes.
But in the community, it's somebody like...
who's credible.
Yeah.
Who someone is first and foremost knows and respects by their legacy. They feel connected to that individual because we've been through the same things. We've been down the same road, and so therefore, I'm going to listen to what you say, right? I'm going to respect your position. And I had to do it the other day with an individual, and he just told me, he's like, I don't do this. Right? I don't do this. I don't listen to people. Like, I don't change my life because now that person is calling me all the time. And it is because my consistency in this voice, right? I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. And so therefore, you can relate to, I'm authentic and real, and I'm not just gaming you or capping, as the kids say, right?
Yeah. Or playing both sides of the fence. Right. Where you could get them caught up. Has that ever been someone's worry, whether just like, because you have relationships?
Oh, but yes, a lot of times. I get that. You care about them, you don't care about us. You do too much over there. I can't get involved in what people are saying. I can pay attention to it. I can evaluate it, but I can't give it a lot of energy because people are going to have opinions. People are not going to like your decision to want them to stop doing what they feel is prosperous for their life.
And
right?
not seeing the bigger picture of all that you're doing.
Well, it's an addiction. Some of these behaviors within itself is an addiction. And when you're addicted, you don't listen to other things. You're only looking at it's your fault. And when you're a victim also, it's your fault. It's your fault. Everything is your fault. There's never an onus on you to take responsibility for what you're doing. We've been conditioned as Black people to believe that. And so it takes, in this oppressive society, it takes work to change mindsets. Because a lot of people, they're backwards in their mindset because that's how we've been trained and raised. And everywhere we go, it gets reinforced. You know, and so when they talk about greatness as a process, that is a process you have to go through. The oppressive society that continues to beat you down and tell you, no, you're not worthy. No, you're not enough. No, you can never be. No, you should shut up. No, just be seen and not heard. No, you can't date those people over there. No, you can't come into my school. No, you can't sit at my counter. No, you can't earn this money. No, you can't use your voice to speak back to the police. If you're constantly in that, at some point, if you're not strong, you believe it's true.
Doing 35 years of this work, how much of that have you taken on in 35 years where now that you're starting to have to unpack the things that you thought you were like, oh, I resolved that. Turns out you might have suppressed that one, resolved that one, suppressed this one. Because, I mean, you've seen the whole gamut consistently and nonstop fighting, sacrifice your whole adult life to this cause. But how much of it you put it on your back, even if you didn't mean to?
It's so funny. The reason why I'm leaving for 2 months.
Oh, shit.
To just relax, to spend some time with Queen Afua, who is, you know, one of the greatest healers in America, and really just relax and take a break and just breathe, because I just haven't done that in 35 years. And so, yes, it does become part of you, and you have to meditate every day. And that's the other thing is why, if you don't have peace in your life, it's hard to be great. Because if you're all in the energy and you angry and you yelling and screaming, you don't have time to stop and build greatness. Because you're looking at everybody from a judgment and comparison and envy and jealousy. And there's no way you could be great in this world like that, right? You're too busy fighting. And you got to slow down and protect your peace.
But then, like in your fight, where you're clearly making impacts.
But see, when it's a fight, then no.
There's no peace in the middle of a fight.
So you can't fight.
But you're fighting for pieces of lifestyle.
But you can't fight for it.
So how do you have to?
You got to, pieces of, and that's one of the things with the transformation with Deepak. It's that if you're fighting. Right? You're fighting against what you're asking for, which is peace. Gotcha. Right? And so peace is a lifestyle.
It's the vocabulary, and I'm literally, unknowingly, I keep saying you're fighting for this, and I shouldn't be saying fighting for anything.
Right.
But what are we doing?
You have to create it. You have to live it. You have to
love it,
embody it. When you lead with love, you are engaging with people, right? We're having conversation, and so in that conversation on a daily basis, we're working to shift mindsets, shift behavioral norms, shift your ideology to see the world from a different lens, right? Take off the foggy glasses and see the world for what you can envision for your freedom. Because sometimes you're fighting, you're kicking down doors, and your allies are on the other side, and you just killed the people that were supposed to be your friend, like you talked about with the basketball game, right?
Right.
That we're all here together, right? And I know that incident probably shifted other brother's life as well, because he's a good brother. He's that's my friend. He's a good brother. Because like I said, I grew up with folks who this was their lifestyle, selling drugs to the community. But how did it become their lifestyle? Did they wake up and say they want to be drug dealers? Or was we conditioned?
It literally felt like a trap.
Trapped in a prison of seclusion.
Yeah.
That's Tupac, back to his first album. Living in this world is a delusion. Shot up or shot down with the bullet that he bought, you know. But it's a trap.
It is.
Lauryn Hill has that other song, and I forgot the name of it. I shouldn't, because I played it 100,000 times. Lauryn Hill, the song about the judges, but it's so on point, right? Because it speaks to the essence of how they have us trapped.
Yeah.
We hiring these lawyers, they taking our money, They friends with the judges. They sending us to jail in the jails that's owned by their friends. It's a business to keep us incarcerated. It's a business to keep our kids addicted to drugs and a gun, drill music life. We don't put out drill music. They put out drill music. They own the record companies and the radio stations. It's theirs. We're stepping into their arena trying to lift ourselves out of this community that is an oppressive community because of the way that they built it. And anywhere in America, anywhere in the world, mostly, you go to where we live, it is run down, inequality, right? No quality food. Everything is point towards death, mental death, physical death, emotional death. And so we have to free ourselves mentally with our crowns and understand we're kings and queens, and then we lift ourselves out of our conditions.
This brings me to this quote that I got from you. Every single person's skill set is just as valuable as the next person's skill set in this process to liberation.
Yes. A lot of times in life, we look at someone else as being better than us. And we're not looking at us. You're not looking at yourself and what you bring to the world. And you're constantly measuring yourself against someone else. And you can't. Because what they have and what their blessings and jewels are, that's theirs. But yours is yours. And you have, and everyone interconnects with their greatness. And then that's how we make the environment, the school, the community a better place. That's how we excel our own lives.
I went all the way back.
To Deepak into. Oh, that's when we got the lease.
Yeah, like I went all the way back. Like, because if it's a journey, I want to see it. And you have like 8,000 posts. So I went all the way to the first one.
Let me see the first one.
This is the very first post right here. This is your very first post.
So the peacekeepers.
Yeah, they're not in order, but that's the very first post.
Yes.
So it's funny that these two, so the picture is a picture of us at a rally with Russell Simmons and Captain Dennis, where we brought the peacekeepers to New York City. And so we had around 500 people walk through South Jamaica, Queens, around the killings. The one on top is a picture at the Hip Hop Summit. And this is Puff Daddy, KRS-One, Mos Def. And so I was speaking, and it was around violence. And so it takes us both in the streets, in the entertainment world, on the baseball field, on the football field, in the movie theaters, in the schools, in the libraries. We all have to be one voice for our children so that our children can understand that they have the power to be free, that suffering and living in this mental oppression, spiritual oppression, emotional oppression is not how they have to grow up. And the trauma can be healed. This is Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes.
right? And so when we look at that, how do we become free? How do we get those chains off of our minds so that we can build our greatness? We can go through that process and live in peace, because everybody wants to live in peace. They do. They don't want to be, killed or kill or be killed. People don't want that.
The last question that I have is a question that I ask all my guests. But in your case, I'll switch it up a little bit. In this 35 years, what has been the most important lesson that you've learned so far? And I know there's a lot. So you can just choose a few or one.
The most important set. Why would he do that? Why would you do that? Like, does he know we're in an interview?
Yes.
It's okay. Oh, I also wanted to say,
Our
I love
coach.
these jackets. I know it's
swear.
deeper than fashion.
That's
but
Jada right there.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
That was 2019. But I like over the years, like just looking through the polo shirts, the jackets, the hats, the glasses, the watches, the kicks, that like you have, mad swag. But you switch it up. Like, it doesn't,
Because nobody wants to be part of a losing team. Nobody wants to look like a loser. Nobody wants to be part of them. Like when you look at the history of black folks, we was always stylish.
Yeah.
Our mothers and fathers, they was out there. And for me, I'm 58, so I'm talking about my mother and father's generation, right? They were dressed up to go to the school, to go to to go outside. Mm-hmm. They were dressed up, and so they carried themselves. No matter how the conditions were, they were mentally free, right? And that's the thing, that we want to be free, but we also want to live free, right? In our minds, where we understand that as we're a powerful people.
Absolutely.
And I guess as you talk about a lesson, the one lesson is to thy own self be true. I could go outside and put a mask on in front any day, right? Because that's mostly social media, right? Most people are fronting.
Yeah.
But to thy own self be true. When you're true to yourself, then you're able to go way above and beyond what any limitation is set for you.
Like, what are some things, so we can say be true to yourself and keep it moving, but like, what does that actually mean to be true to yourself?
Be true to yourself means, one, don't try to be somebody else. Mm-hmm. Don't come outside like you the killer and you scared as hell, right? Don't come outside where you talking that black power, peace stuff, and you don't care about black people. Or you're afraid and you acting like you're not, right? Because then you're not really able to free yourself from that fear because you're fronting, right? And you're living your whole life fake. And it doesn't help you in your own personal growth.
And even that will catch up with you. You're collapsing. You have a midlife crisis. You're like, who the hell am I? I'm 45, and thankfully I've gone through the trials and tribulations because my same mentor, she was like, who are you? And I went to answer her. She said, don't answer me.
Right.
You're going to be asking that question for the rest of your life. That's on you. Don't let anybody ask you. That's for you to ask yourself.
Yes.
And so in that sense of like, finding, who you are, you do it through experiences,
Attention to details is another lesson. The world is mine. There's no limitations is another great lesson, right? But being true to yourself, it's just that, right? It's just that. Like, people know what it means to be true to yourself. Like, and you can say, like, how a lot of people, like, you go around, you talk about people behind their back.
Right.
And then you smile in their face. That's not being true. Mm-mm. Right? If we were really true, if I'm looking at you as a competition as opposed to a friend, right? And I know I envy and jealous of you, and I'm not true to that. And so it's eating me up, and I'm feeding that, and then eventually I kill you, or I bring harm to your life. I destroy your business. I sleep with your girl. Like, that's what happens when these men go out here and you're living a fake life.
Does that have anything to do with emotional intelligence?
Well, no. Oh. Well, emotional intelligence, you're a spiritual being, right? So, yes.
So,
right?
I meant in a sense of like...
But that's just integrity.
Like if someone bumps into you and you say, yo,
no, it's just integrity.
That's integrity? Okay.
No, it's just like, who are you, right? It's your what you made of, right? What are you made of? Because you can't keep being made of somebody else's stuff. That's not what you're made of. That's what they're made of. What are you made of? What is your purpose in life? It's not the other person's purpose, and so that is, like, people talk about loyalty over everything. They don't even know what loyalty is. They're not loyal to themselves. You can't be loyal to somebody else if you're not loyal to yourself. We do a lot of hashtag and slangs and no capping, and we cap all day.
Talking and not saying nothing.
Right. Yeah. Well, you are saying something.
But not following through.
You saying some other stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? You saying lies. Right? And you're further destroying yourself mentally because, as you said, you can't live a lie for your whole life. Mm-hmm. And so, even with me, with the angry peacemakers, because I wanted something to happen now, but I wasn't present for a young person for where they were right now with their life. I wanted them to go where I saw they needed to go. It could have been a great place, but I can't get you there if I'm not where you are right now, right? We can't function where I see you are. We got to be where you are.
And that's what because I see that you meet people where they are, whether they're riding the bikes or whether they have something to say, or even when they go to the Peace Mobile and they say their piece on the microphone, you go where they are.
And that's the physical going where they are. But mentally, I have to be where you are. I got to see you. If I don't see you, then I can't be with you, right? In this process to greatness, in this process to make peace a lifestyle. I got to see you, and I see you.
And I see you too. And it's a wrap.
See you.
And we out here. Well, Erica, thank you so much. Sincerely, like I'm grateful that we had this time, and thank you for your service. Just 35 years plus. We know it's more than 35, but thank you. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, King.